what does a champion as yourself, both physically and mentally, come up with 5 recovery ideas? And they could be whatever you want. They could be the basic, typical, or whatever you think. But what is 5 great options to help the body recover?
Awesome. That's a great question because that's my wheelhouse. The first thing that I think recovery has to be built into your training. And what I mean by that is that if you read a lot of the Eastern, German, and Soviet literature, and even the Bulgarian literature, they train very, very difficult for 3 to 3.5 weeks, and they take 1 to 3 sessions down and let the body rejuvenate. It's not what you can do, it's what you can recover from. So your training has to build in deloading and unloading and recovery means. And that's where I think a lot of people make mistakes is they feel good, so they think that they should just keep training harder. And then when the rut finally hits,
I think it's worse.
It's way over.
I think people think, hey, it's Tuesday. I trained yesterday. I got to train today. They won't even comprehend anything about what's going on in their life.
You don't grow in the gym. You grow outside of the gym under low stress environments.
I also want to let the fans know that may not know this, that are new to this whole understanding about training. Not much. Nobody who trains harder. I'm sorry, America. Not many train harder than the Soviets and the Bulgarians and stuff, and how they've trained. And their principles today.
Because they had the government backing to put them in camps and train them and take away their stressors. And, so we can use some of their guidelines and some of their training protocols. But what we have to understand is that those were those guys' jobs, right? So you have to, the first thing we do with online coaching, which is I'm sure you do with Titans, is like the first thing you ask someone is, what do you do for work? How good is your sleep? Et cetera, et cetera. Then you design the fucking program.
I just talked to a guy who says, I get 5 hours, sometimes 4. I write back and go, I don't want to train you.
No.
Nope. Unless you can guarantee me you're going to get 7.5 at least, I don't want nothing to do with you.
And your goal,
I'm paying you to train me.
Right.
I don't want your money.
If you decide to take them on, the goals that you have for your year, you're going to take those in 3 years. So we have to increase the timeline, because if whatever goal you have in 12 months, you better take 36 months if you don't have all your recovery set in place.
Yeah, they ain't going 3 years.
Right.
It's hard to keep them on for 3 months. This.
It's that, and that's why we've almost had a big issue. And we're going off on a different tangent on here, but I think it needs to be said. That's why marketing is so screwed up in the fitness industry and everybody's pissed off, is because you and me both tell everybody, let's get this together in 36 months. And everybody else is like, well, I just heard I could do this in 30 days.
Go with that person. I'll see you in 31 days. Right? All right. So the one is, which nobody talks about, is how you set up your training.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful one.
So we set up the training to build in the deloads and unloads, whether we want to or not. That's step 1. Step 2, every hour of sleep is 2 times as recuperative before midnight than after midnight. I learned that from Charles Poliquin. So what do? I'm in bed at 8:30, 9 o'clock. I may not be dead asleep, but I'm starting the relaxation process in order for me to get deep sleep before 10, way before 10. And it doesn't, that's faltering.
How deep did you go into the studying of sleep? Because I'd love you to go into this. Talk about the sleep, if you can, the hours before 2, 8 to 2, and then 2 to 6. Because those are 2 different recovery systems for the body. And I don't think people realize, oh, my whole body's recovering. No, actually, this portion is recovering here and this portion is recovering. It's an amazing thing how the moon, and it goes and how it rotates. And
right. And I think a lot of that research came from third shift workers in factories. They started to realize that even though they might still be getting 8 hours of sleep, because the timing of it was so screwed up, the growth hormone outputs, the IGF-1, all those natural recovery means, they just go kaput. And even though they might be asleep, the body is not asleep when it wants to be to recover optimally. Yes, you can survive off of doing this other shit that people say, but we're talking optimization here. You and I's, both of our lives, and the people that we try to touch, we try to optimize. We don't try to put Band-Aids on bullet holes, right? So the big thing is you have to be asleep very early in order for all these hormones to come out and make big play. And Charles did this with all of his athletes in the 80s and 90s. and had all of this data that he didn't share with people. I talk all the time to people like, oh, that doesn't matter, this and that. And I'm like, well, there's a reason that I still squat 900 pounds at 43 years old and you can't squat 315. So I don't think we need to have this conversation.
You want to drop that mic? Do you have a mic there you can just drop for us? That's awesome. I hope they're sucking this up. I hope they understand this. Again, both you and I cannot teach anybody anything. We can just make them think.
Yeah.
And that's what we're trying to do today is get them to think about this concepts and what we're talking about.
Exactly.
Because these are the little details when people say, hey, Mike, how do you still do it? He's telling you right now how I'm doing this.
Yeah. And that's how I mean, you and Stan are both of what I'm trying to achieve in my 50s with more of the powerlifting side.
You're not trying to achieve it. You're trying to be better than both me and Stan.
Well, yeah.
Especially Stan. Come on. It's Stan.
I mean, I set the bar really high. You know what I mean? So I think the only way I'm going to be able to do that is to get peeled at least one time as far as you have. So I'm going to be, when I get my situation all situated with this business stuff, I'm coming over to LA and I'm living for a while and
you stay with us.
Do a show.
Oh, that'd be finally a better training partner than Heath Evans, right?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So that's the one big thing is the sleep has to be early.
Okay.
3, you have to build in, as you were saying, external factors in order to recover quicker. My big ones are obviously massage, like you know. I am a huge fan of rolfing if you can find someone that can do it, because when you start to get that much muscle, you have to have the intensity, but it's almost treated as a workout. So if you're leaving away and feel, oh yeah, I feel really good. I had a massage 4 hours ago. When I get a massage, I got to go sleep for 8 hours because my body's trashed, right?
Yep.
The next big thing I think that a lot of people don't take into consideration, like you're saying, chiropractic and acupuncture. I love
acupuncture. Oh,
on acupuncture. So I flew 17 hours, and as you know,
I'm still here. I just want to put you full screen.
No, fine. As I found, as you know, you travel all over the world like I do. I went and spoke at Sydney, Australia for the ASCA in 2012. That 17-hour plane ride to Sydney wrecked my back. There was a super badass acupuncture guy that worked with one of the pro rugby teams over in Sydney. And he goes, I can fix your back in 5 minutes. So I'm thinking, hey man, whatever you got, I don't care if you got to shove something up my ass. My back is pissed. So he puts all these needles in my back, and I don't really believe at the time much on the acupuncture. I shit you not, my back never felt better for 2 months after that. And that's when I was sold. And that's when I started to realize that there is so much more. And this was, 10 years ago. There was so much more that I need to understand that I knew at that time that I was not going to learn anymore by understanding percentages of squats and how much band tension to use on speed. But I knew I had that figured out. What I needed to be better at to optimize my training was to do everything outside of the gym at 100 miles an hour, the same way I was training. And when I did that, my squat jumped to the all-time world record raw. My bench and squat subtotal was the highest in human history ever done under 300 pounds. So when you squat 875 in a belt and then bench 611, I mean, at 291 pounds body weight, come and get some of that.
I got to stop you for a second because I want everybody here to understand again. He believes in acupuncture because he did acupuncture. He believes in massage because he did massage, and then it translated to something else in the gym. And so my story for acupuncture was I was never a meditation guy to just sink into that deep meditation doing nothing else. And I also wasn't really sure about acupuncture, questionable.
Sure.
How are you sticking it into the points of the nerves and the breakdown, and pretty interesting stuff. But tweaked my knee a week before going to Italy to set a world record. And I'm like, I can barely run, and I need to be able to create some force and run. So somebody recommended try some acupuncture. I did it 4 days in a row before I flew out to Italy. And I set a world record 7 days later, coming from a tweaked knee. And I get most people, you and me, will go out blazing. You know, so it's not, hey, I tweaked my knee, I'm not going to go do this world record. It's like, what can I try, even if I don't believe in it right now? Let me try something. And man, not only did it fix the knee, or enough at that point to where I can crush it, and within time it was fixed, but it also set me, it's amazing, those pins set me into a deep relaxation Peter Pan stage. It wasn't asleep, wasn't awake,
Same
but I was
thing.
in this world where I was just living. Pretty amazing.
Same thing. And what you found is you started to realize that you put all this time and all this energy and all this effort into this one burst of a world record or whatever. And there was, if something, what did you have to lose at that point by trying acupuncture? Absolutely nothing. So by
drop the ego.
Right, your ego, because, oh, that doesn't work, screw that shit. And you know how many people lose out on so many things in life and let their ego get in the way? I mean, it'd be like me coming out. Remember, and I use this point till the day I would die. You came, it was 2018, you were here for the Arnold, and you came and did my workout. And because when I go to Golds, I do your workouts. And you go, no, I'm in your facility, you tell me what to do. So we speed bench, and this is for everybody, and I tell people how much of a fucking badass you are. So we do the speed work, and obviously I'm quicker than you because I train speed and this type of stuff for powerlifting. But we get to the burnout set, and for the people at home, we have 185 pounds on the bar, 120 pounds of chain, and 100 pounds of band. I do 26 reps, and you do 30. You beat me at the game. And I tell people this all the time. I was like, you don't understand, because Stan only got, I think, 14 or 15 that day. So the amount of strength that you have had to do that is impeccable. And it's not even your wheelhouse. And so, again, I try to impress you when I come and do stuff with you, right? Like,
I gotta keep telling Ed Cohen and you to stop, and Stan, stop putting me over like that. Yeah. Start telling everybody I'm weak, and you know, Keith Evans how lifts me. And
so that was a big transition for me. But my point is, when you get to a world-class level, you have to understand the ego is no longer a component, because ego will stop you from learning from the other people and making strides above where you're at now. You know, it would be like, well, I'm not going to go train with Michael Hearn because I don't want him to outdo me on this and that. I don't care. What I care about is being better. And I know that there are certain things that I can show you to make you better. And you know that there are certain things you can show me to get better. And we all get better together. And that's how it should be.
I think that's also I said this earlier, but powerlifters tend, to me, to usually always have a better personality than bodybuilders.
Yeah.
I think this has to go with the peaceful warrior mentality. A martial artist is very sweet and kind and soft because he knows what he can do.
Well,
I think the powerlifters go.
In bodybuilding, everything that is what you attain is external. In powerlifting, you don't get to just look a certain way. You're putting shit on your back that can kill you. And that internal drive and fire is internal. And the internal drive is a big difference from having an aesthetic look. So everything that is based in a bodybuilder is, what do I look like? What is my aesthetic positioning? And for a powerlifter is, I don't want to fucking die doing this. I need to be perfect in my movement and my technical ability. All that is internal, neurological control, which creates a completely different thought process on how you achieve what you're trying to do. It becomes more internal. And that's where I think powerlifting may have a different feel. And I'm just being in general, because I've been on both ends of the spectrum. I've trained with you. I've trained with Flex and Stan and guys that have done amazing things in bodybuilding, but also insanely strong. And what I find is that all of us share those same traits. Everything we have, even though you might judge yourself on what you look like today, your intrinsic drive is so much more than what you see externally. That's why you are what you are. That's why I am what I am.
I appreciate that. I need one more recovery.
Yeah. The next thing is going to be staying away from things that are high inflammation. And this is a very sketchy topic, but I am 100% So I started eating a lot like Stan. I dropped my inflammation down, my blood pressure, triglycerides, health patterns got better. I started utilizing some CBD products for reduction in inflammation. And what I started to notice was that with a low inflammation diet and low inflammation supplementation, omega-3 fish oil, magnesium glycinate for sleep and depth recovery. The point is that everything I try to eat and everything I try to supplement with is all about recovery needs, not performance enhancement. So when I try to talk to people about taking magnesium before you go to bed, making sure you're getting optimal amounts of fish oil, I'm telling
What
you,
was the last two? So it's
what
fish oil, and
magnesium glycinate. So magnesium is conjoined with glycinate. You also have threonate, which is conjoined with magnesium to cross the blood-brain barrier, which helps shut the brain down at night to sleep better. The point is, if you recover better and your inflammation is lower, your training level can be higher. But what do we chase? What do we chase in the media? And what does everybody else chase? They chase a pre-workout. They chase, let's get more intense to train. Your intensity is developed by the ability to recover 12 hours pre or post. So how good of a session you're going to have is already set 8 hours before you get to the gym. What are you doing in 8 hours from the gym? Are you sleeping deep? Are you eating clean? Have you stayed away from stressful environments? So when you get to the gym, you can expend energy. But instead, what most people do is they put a Band-Aid on a bullet hole. They're missing some key component of that area, and then they're trying to mask it with a pre-workout, and then it ends up sending them down the wrong path anyway.
I love that you said that, because I'm one and I have a pre-workout non-stim, and I said, and I think somebody did a study on it. It goes, hey, it's not enough stim. It's a piece. And it's funny because it's just a kid that goes, I want to get cracked out of my head to go train. Where if you just listen to me talk and say, hey, if you're on the couch and you're tired, sure, I want to give you a little something to get up and going. But I never want to override you. That's not the point of it. You're already tired. I don't need to override you and have you go into the gym and think that you're stronger than you are, or more tanked up than you are. And you go in there ballistic and going, I'm going to just go crazy.
Right.
Now I just did you damage. And it's hard to explain that to the youth of today that grew up on all these drinks and stuff like that just has 400 grams of.
You know as well as I do, how on earth, if your mentality is to be looted to the gills to come into the gym, how is your mentality on technical ability?
Non-existent.
All these people that do this shit, their form is terrible. And that's another reason why they're not around very long, right? It all comes back down to technical mastery, patience, and understanding that if you don't have energy in the gym, no amount of pre-workout is going to fix all the damage you're doing on all the other stupid shit. You and I both know we use supplements to supplement our already perfect lifestyle, or as perfect as we can make it.
Beautiful.
That's why fucking
I need to say one thing, because I think it's unfair for me to talk about some stuff because I had such a great upbringing in the sense of health and fitness.
Sure.
And also, there was a portion of time, it's like Photoshop wasn't around for all my magazines for the first 10 years. So Photoshop doesn't make sense to me. I am who I am. And I love that in person, people are like, oh, sheesh, you're bigger than I thought. But my first early years, we didn't have pre's. I grew up, guys, I started lifting in the late 70s and competing in powerlifting in the 80s.
Yeah.
So we didn't have all this and that and all this cool, fun stuff to go get going and stuff. And so our energy came from, I was eating my pasta with whole eggs and stuff. That was my energy drink. And it was this, but it's tough to talk to these kids. And I fully understand that they grew up on this. So how do you wean, instead of giving me another recovery, how can they self-correct at this stage, knowing that everybody in the world is saying this is how you should do it?
Well, I think the big thing you have to do is you have to set yourself an ideal. Okay. And what I mean by that is there are 3 things that I hold in high value as someone I'm going to listen to on my training or my diet or my supplementation. 1, what level of performance did they get to? And 2, how long did they stay there? And 3, what is their educational background? right there with those three things, you just knocked the shit out of 95% of people
99.
stupid shit all over the internet. If you do those three things, it takes away almost 95% of all the bullshit.
Yeah,
And
it really does. I mean, you honestly,
Stan Effortings, Matt Winnings, you're going to run into all these guys because guess what? All of us have been doing this for over 30 years. We've all went and gotten degrees, and we've all stayed at a high level for a very long time. That is the three major key points of staying away from idiots on the internet.
you know what? I think that's the wrong road to go down for you and me, because of the fact is we can't make this argument, and I can't help the kids enough until they realize it, because they're going to say, well, this is who we listen to. They got all the followers in the world. The point you made is, did they do well?
With the advent of Instagram and all these other platforms, most people that have these immense followers that we see and go, how is this possible? They bought the shit. They didn't. That's not real.
I don't know that. I don't know that. I do know that there's more famous people than me that are giving advice, and I keep seeing it, and I'm just like, I can't. And people tag me in it, and they go, "Hey, Mike, will you tell this guy what it really is?" And I said, I can't. He read that somewhere, and he believes it. And that's what the world is as we are right now. So for you people out there, again, you know, you guys, common sense
advice. It's three things. They have to be around at least 20 years. They have to have a high education. They have to have stayed at that level for an extended period of time, because you and I both know. Now, I got a question for you that falls along the same level. What age do you feel you were at peak? I mean, we were always constantly learning and trying new things, so that's a no-brainer. But when do you feel you hit the Yoda stage? For me, it was about 38.